So Tableau gives us a number of different ways to group like things, and those things can be different, right? We can group like columns into a hierarchy, for instance, one beneath the other. We can group like fields within a column into groups, non-overlapping collections of observations, and we can group things into a more flexible structure called sets, where we can have, set A and set B, and maybe they have some overlap, and maybe one represents one thing and one represents a slightly different thing. They don't have to necessarily be perfectly related, and I know that that distinction may seem a little unclear, so let's actually do an example to clear things up. So let's make a new sheet here, and let's focus on a business question. So let's make a set that represents the top 10 authors in terms of total sales, the total sales that they've generated. And we do this again because I really like examples, especially as we get started, where we can verify that what we've done is true, or correct rather. So let's make this set one way, and then actually build a visualization of sales, and then make sure that the top 10 in one place is the same as the top 10 in the other place, just to kind of close the loop on that. So in order to make the set of whatever, you just need to pick the thing you want to break up. So here we want to break up authors into the top 10 and the not top 10, and so let's right click last name, and then you can go down here to create. Group is similar, and we'll talk about group in a different video, but here we actually want set. So let's actually make our set. And notice you can do this by hand. You can select the authors that you want to include in the set individually, and we'll talk about situations where this might be a good idea towards the end of this video. You can base it on some condition, like maybe more than average sales or something like this. But one that's a little bit tougher, and it's really nice that Tableau has the built-in functionality, is this top N. And so here we're going to say we want the top 10, and you can do top or bottom, and you can obviously put any number you want here. And we get to base this top 10 on whatever condition we like. So notice that we have to aggregate based on something. So let's do sales real quick, and then we'll go and do another example. So notice if I say sales is actually a data sheet, and so the only aggregation function I hear is count. The only aggregation I can do if I'm looking at a data sheet as my thing to be aggregated is just count the number of rows. But for instance, if I did price, for instance, suddenly, because price is a numeric column within a data sheet, I have a number of different aggregation functions. So I could do the top 10 authors in terms of average price, the top 10 authors in terms of median price, and so on and so on. So my only point here is that the set functionality, this top N functionality in particular, is really flexible, but it depends on the type of thing that you're looking over the top for. Like the top of what? The top of sales? Okay, well, you can phrase that in certain ways. The top of price? Okay, you can phrase that in terms of in other ways. So let's do sales, back to sales, and do just simply by count. And let's give this thing a name. You have to top 10 best sellers. Okay. Notice we get a new variable in our workspace here, and it is denoted by a little Venn diagram. This is the symbol for set. It's a little confusing because it's also the symbol for join when you're doing your data modeling, but in this particular context, it means a set. So let's go ahead and plot as our row, we'll do as our columns. As our columns, the author's last name, and if we go down to sales and just do a count of these sales as our rows, we get the bar chart that we might expect. If we sort this by sales, we can see that they stack up in a particular way. But notice what happens if we drag our new set variable, top 10 best-selling authors, into color. What we should see is that, and what we in fact see, is that the top authors here are in this set and the other authors are not. So this is just to say that this is actually working, like it is correctly identifying the top 10 sellers with respect to total sales. I want to note that we can do this another way. So for instance, imagine I just selected like this, just dragged it and selected it, and I right click anywhere in here and I say create set. If I do this, notice what's happening. These are now hard coded. And so this is what I was talking about earlier, that you could go in and manually choose what you want to be in each set. And here we could do the same thing, right? Like we go through and we make this visualization. We say, these people are really important. I'm going to create a set related to just these people. You know what? That's not a bad idea, but in the sense that it works, right? I mean, you will get the same answer in this case, but here's the difference. If you hard code this like in this particular format, so if you go to make your visualization, identify the people you want and hard code a set, that set will not change if the data set does. So imagine you have like a live stream of data coming in, or you have a new extract every day or something like this. What's going on? You know, the issue here is that if you've hard coded the sales, you may not actually notice that the top 10 bestsellers are changing over time. But if you instead do it the way we did it before, where it's kind of a relative reference, it's always calculating it based on whatever's currently in your data view. This is a much more robust and flexible way. So both of them obviously have their uses. There are times when you definitely just want to hard code it. In the case where you either don't think it's going to change, or you actually want to say no, bestsellers in January 2015. You know, like this is a specific thing. Or there are definitely cases where you want this to be more flexible and to roll or adjust with whatever data you have coming in. So sets are a great way to both visually highlight in the way I've done here, or filter, or exclude, or break it into separate pieces of analysis. Like we can do a lot with these sets once we have them, and we'll see examples of that coming up. But the first thing is being able to separate these things out into distinct groups.